Hey y'all, Pink Lady here. On today's episode of Bet on Yourself, Sis, I interview Marquita S. Myrick. She is a licensed psychotherapist, a national certified counselor, a professional speaker, and an anxiety coach for women. She's the owner of Find My Therapist, which is a private pay mental health provider directory. And in this episode, we talk about the importance of mental health for entrepreneurs. We talk about her business, Find My Therapist, and the pivots she had to make from how it started. We talk about building community through service. She gives advice for aspiring entrepreneurs and the old OG entrepreneurs who may be experiencing difficulties right now. She gives tips for managing anxiety in these unstable times. We talk about outgrowing your therapist and how you can navigate that. She gives resources for mental health support, specifically for Black women. And we talk about her new podcast, which is called Anxiety and Free. And of course, the link will be in the show notes. This episode was jam-packed with advice, tips, and resources, and we had a great time geeking, okay? So I know you will enjoy it.
Yourself says you got the gold, confidence and stuff, but Marquita, I am so excited to talk to you today. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day, busy schedule to talk with me, chat with me, and for me to introduce you to my audience. Thank you so much for being here again. Please tell the people who you are and what you do.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me on with your busy schedule. I'm Marquita Myrick. I am a licensed psychotherapist, mom, wife of 13 years. I'm also a professional speaker and anxiety coach, and I have individual psychotherapy services. I do some family services. I have a mental health provider directory coming out with a podcast. I do a little bit of everything. Because my brain is very neurodivergent and I just like to expand the ways that I can support people. So that's who I am and what I do.
I love it because you do a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all surrounding that main thing of like the therapy and mental wealth and mental health, right? Making sure people's minds are healthy, right? That's really important, right? So can you talk a little bit about why that's so important? I know mental health, right, is such a buzz topic. We hear it all the time, right? But can you please talk, especially for Black women entrepreneurs, why our mental health is so important?
Yes. I feel that especially as entrepreneurs, we have to have our mental health in check. It's one thing to have a full-time job and you can lean on the company for certain things. When you're working for yourself, you are often, especially us as women, we're often representing every department in our businesses. Yes. I certainly am right now, right? So look forward to the point where we can hire out. I love when I can contract out for services. At the end of the day, there's so much pressure on us to succeed. I know a lot of Black women often talk about feeling like they have to work harder than the next person. So we already have that pressure ingrained in us. It's been taught to us since we were little kids. And then we carry that into entrepreneurship and we get completely stressed out. We get depressed. Our mental health starts to crumble. And then we just blame ourselves. We don't blame the system. We don't blame the messaging. We just blame ourselves. So that's why, to me, it's so important that we have our mental health in check.
You're so right. The end piece of what you just said, we blame ourselves, right? We always like, damn, well, what was wrong with me? We don't blame the system that is meant for us to fail, right? Like, we don't blame the lack of resources, right? None of that. We don't think about any of that. It's always internal. That part of it is internal, right? And I always think like if we thought internally before we get to that point, then maybe we would seek out those things that we need, right? But I mean, that's something else that is lacking in our community, right? There's the whole notion of we don't go to therapy. That's white people stuff, right? So can you talk a little bit about like maybe why that mindset exists and how we can combat it?
Yeah. it goes so deep. I feel, and I'm just thinking, you said, it's white people stuff to go to therapy. And that's something that was ingrained in me, even growing up in Louisiana, to the point where when I was 18, I think it was 19, actually, my sophomore year in college, I told my mom, my doctor gave me some medication for depression, for anxiety, and she's recommending I see a therapist downstairs. Everything was one house where I went to at CU Boulder in Colorado. And my mom said, do not do that. And we joke about it now. And she apologizes as often as this topic comes up. Can you believe she still apologizes for it? She's like, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I say, and that's why I don't blame you for it. You had conditioning from your parents. We had conditioning from their parents. My mom grew up in the time of segregation. So of course you're thinking we cannot trust, right? That mindset was still there. So she could have passed that to me. And thankfully and not so thankfully, I was not in a great place, right? Otherwise, I would have been very resistant. I just knew I couldn't survive in that environment and I was going to drop out if I didn't. So I think there's a historical context. I definitely think, the 200 decades of slavery definitely impacted a lot of generations and still does today. And my role as a psychotherapist is to show up authentically and promote psychotherapy for all Black people, Hispanic, Asian, Pacific Islander, all people, right? And let everyone know that our color, we got to take the color out of it when it comes to mental health because we're all humans. We may be having different experiences that overlap at times. And at the end of the day, we're all humans with brains. So we all need to address our psyche.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that you just made it inclusive. It's like, it's not really about, it ain't about your color at all, right? It's not about where you come from. It's about the fact that you're making the decision to heal from trauma, right? And to move past it and to grow and to check on your mental health, right?
So check on it.
Yeah. I like what you said. So please talk more about your business, Find My Therapist. So we met at a business boot camp, an entrepreneurship boot camp. I will put it in the show notes. It's called The Blocks. It actually just aired in January, so go check it out. And I was just like, yeah, I love your business because it's not like I won't say it's something that is extremely hard to do, right? It's not the hardest thing in the world, but it's not easy to find a therapist. And it's definitely not easy to find a therapist that is a right fit for you, right? So talk a little bit about like why you created the business and what it's for and what it does.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for asking. So Find My Therapist, and I don't know if I told you this when we were on the show, it was originally a matchmaking service. I know, right? Oh, wow. Your face. It was. I know, I pivoted hard.
That's so funny. And we'll talk about that too, because I love to hear how like the pivot happens. Yes.
Yeah. So many, there's a story behind the pivot too. Always is, right? So many people reach out to me still to this day and say, hey, can you connect me with a therapist? I'm having a hard time finding a therapist. And just for your audience, I hear this from all people. Again, not just people of color. I hear this from all people that it's a struggle to find a therapist. And so I thought, what if I create a matchmaking service where I have 2 tiers of packages and people pay me to find their therapist. And I actually get on the phone and call the therapist and connect with them and use my expertise to kind of weed them out and ask those more challenging questions that people don't ask in consultations. So I felt that it was successful. However, here's where the pivot came in. Here's the unique story for you. At age 19, I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder. I was spending so much time looking for these therapists, doing the research, right? Looking at their social media. And that's what I committed to doing in these packages, right? Combing through their social media, combing through their online presence. Who is this person outside of their profile on a directory, and talking to them and typing up what I call the match report. It was taking too much time because I was obsessive about it. So I can admit that now. And so my business coach at the time said, we need to do something that you can scale more, honey, because you are taking too much time on this project of yours. So I still do a little bit of matchmaking that's embedded into the directory, because now people can DM me or reach out via email and say, I'd like to connect with a therapist on your directory. However, I'm a bit shy or I'm a bit nervous. I've been overwhelmed before, and I will still match them with a provider on the directory. So basically, Find My Therapist was born out of this, anti-OCD phase. And it's an online private pay mental health provider directory. So the providers on the directory do not accept insurance. I shouldn't say that. Some of them do accept insurance. However, my directory highlights providers who have space where they accept out-of-pocket fee-for-service payments for services. And I myself am a fee-for-service provider, so I do not accept insurance. So that's Find My Therapist and a little bit of history for you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that. I want to go back to the pivot just for a second. We won't spend too much time on it, but I'm always curious how did you know, or I know you said, your business coach told you, but was there something in you other than that conversation with the business coach that you knew it was time to pivot? It was like, okay, no, something has to change. This isn't working. It's not sustainable. Like, what did that feel like? I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. There's two sides to that response. So there's the mental health side where I understand OCD and I've been off medication for OCD and any mental health illnesses for over a decade now. Wow. So I'm good, right? I practice the skills that I teach people. However, with OCD, it's considered a chronic illness, and it's not something that you can completely get rid of. When my stressors are high, that's when my symptoms return. So a lot of people say, "Oh, you always seem so happy." I have to be. I have to protect my mental because I don't want those symptoms to return. So I was staying up very late, working on the match reports, getting phone calls when I've just picked my kids up from school. And if I'm matching someone with a therapist in California, well, they're 3 hours behind on Pacific time. So, I'm getting these calls and I got to take it because I called you hours ago and you're calling me back. So there was this physical aspect to it, but it was also this mental health concern where I'm thinking I'm not getting enough rest because I'm spending my free hours in the evening working on these match reports. Yeah. So that's the mental health piece of it. And the other side of it is accessibility. So I take one client and I find at least 3 to 5 matches, and I narrow that down to 3, with the first one being my top recommendation. That's what I was doing as a matchmaking service with Find My Therapist. And that's 3 to 5 providers, right? I may never talk to those providers again. I was keeping them in a database. However, if I now get a client in Kentucky, well, then I have no more connection with those 3 to 5, practitioners. So the issue was accessibility. So with a directory, then I can have more providers. Then even if people aren't paying for my service and they ask for a provider, I can say, well, I have a list of providers on my directory you can choose from. And building a community around that where I actually get to know them a little bit makes it safer for me to refer to those providers. Yeah. So, 2 sides to that response.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. So let's get more into the entrepreneurship side of it, because that's what we're here to talk about, right? So let's hear more about your entrepreneurship journey. You did say you went to CU Boulder. Did you go for business school? Did you already know that you were going to be an entrepreneur? All of that. I want to know everything, or as much as you want to tell me.
Hey, give me the tea.
Yes.
Well, it's interesting because in high school, I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, like my mom.
Okay.
Yeah. So my mom worked full time, and then we got into an accident when I was age 11. And then it was very difficult for her to work because of her back. So for those years, she was a stay-at-home mother and she did an excellent job at it. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have 6 kids. I was not thinking about entrepreneurship. I just was not, right? My dad has been an entrepreneur for 40 years now. So it runs in the family. However, I just thought, this is what I know I want kids. So going to CU Boulder didn't really give me a bug to be an entrepreneur. It was more so when I decided I wanted to be a therapist and I went to grad school and I did my internship at a private practice that wasn't connected to some large corporation, large company. I knew then, well, the only path for me is going to be entrepreneurship because I don't like authority. I don't like listening. I want to listen to anybody.
Girl, I understand that.
I shouldn't say that. I don't mind authority if you're ethical, if you don't micromanage, if you have a direction for where we're going, and if you're collaborative. And if you're not
Yeah.
above reproach and you're presenting yourself as above everyone who works with you, not for you and under you. And so it was that type of structure that I didn't do well with. Now, could I seem like I thrived in it? Sure, I'm a rule follower. So I will follow the rules unless you ask me to do something unethical. However, there was just this bug to do something that I could control because I want to control the ways in which I provide value to the world. And now I can do that as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I really love that story. And I could absolutely see a lot of my story. I feel you, girl. I feel you.
I could tell you were feeling it. Like, she don't like authority either.
So it's so funny though, because I stayed, well, people have listened to the other podcasts where I've heard me speak before, have probably heard me speak about the job that I was in that I hated, because I was in a 9-to-5 job for too long and I hated it. I always did part-time jobs, side jobs that were like in the arts. I like stage managed. I worked for a dance school, things like that. So I always did things like that on the side. But I was in this 9-to-5 job and I felt stuck, but I also felt safe. And it was just like, I got the benefits, right? I go to the doctor. I went to the doctor all the time. I wasn't somebody who didn't use my benefits, okay? I used all my PTO. I went to the doctor all the time. I always, I was getting new glasses or contacts every year. Like, I used my benefits, right? So I just felt really safe. And it was never even a thought to like jump out on my own full time, for sure, right? Like, that was so scary to me. And it came COVID. I got laid off, and I felt like I had a choice to either find another job that I was going to feel the same way and stuck in, like I wanted to get out, or go and do my podcasting thing full time. And I started my business, and this is where, long story short, we're here now, right? I have a few podcasts. I've helped a bunch of people start their podcasts. I have a business podcasting, producing. So I'm glad that happened, right? But going through it was not, it was hard. And I didn't know it was time to pivot. I kind of like got pushed into it, or I got pulled into it, because my first client was actually my mentor, and she's like, well, girl, I'm starting a podcast, so come on over here and produce my podcast. It kind of just worked out for me. Thank you. But yeah, that's when I knew, once I was in it and I was doing it, and I could work from anywhere, and I didn't have to answer to anybody, answer to my clients, of course, but like I didn't have to answer to anybody about the hours that I worked, or, I could set my own deadlines. Like, it was just like, this is for me.
Freedom.
This
I
is
like
for me.
it.
I love it. The freedom. Absolutely. That is what being an entrepreneur absolutely means to me, right? Like, that freedom, right? There's the service aspect, there's, all the other aspects, but it's that freedom. That is what is the main thing to me. Can you talk a little bit about what entrepreneurship means to you?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your story. I saw myself in some elements of your story. Podcasting to me listen to me, podcasting.
Listen, you about to start your podcast. You're speaking into it. I hear it.
Speaking into it. I recorded episode 1 already, so it's happening, okay?
Hopefully we'll talk more about that over at the end. Yes. Okay, great.
Absolutely. So it's the freedom for me. That's what entrepreneurship means to me. And, I mentioned that I originally wanted to have 6 kids. I have 2. I wanted to be a homemaker, and I get to be a homemaker still as an entrepreneur. And that's like, my kids are my everything. They literally have a piece of my heart. So I get to drop them off at school. I get to pick them up from school. I get to take them to their activities. I get to take them to tutoring and different things. I get to spend time with them when some parents are still at work, because they are in the structure of a 9-to-5. And no shade to that. I've done it. I just knew that I wanted my parenting to look different. So there's freedom to run things the way I want to run things, and have a business that's ethical and be able to provide the value in the way I want to. And there's freedom to be the kind of mother I want to. And again, I love control. So entrepreneurship to me means control. It means freedom. It means a lot of scary things too, with navigating the business aspect of it, if we're being honest.
Absolutely.
And that's outweighed by all of the benefits that come with that freedom. It's attached to so much for me. And there's the earning potential too. I think people, some people talk about that. Some people are more shy about that. It seems very ego driven. I'm attracted to earning more money so that I can do more and have more of an impact. So if I'm stuck in a 9-to-5 and I know how much the average psychotherapist makes for a company, right? 70 to 90 if you're really with a really good company. If not, you're in the 40s to 60s, right? As an entrepreneur in private practice, well, my earning potential is not capped. It's just not. And what more can I do when I want to create my own scholarship program within my business and take off time to help a sick family member or travel with family? So when I talk about freedom, there's so much behind that word.
Yeah.
And that's what it boils down to. Freedom to do it how I want to do it.
I agree so much, because I think with a lot of the times when people hear freedom, they think like, oh, you just want to do whatever you want, right? And it's not like that at all. It is really just having the freedom to choose how I do it, just like you said, right? Like, I want to eventually, I want to do scholarships too. I want to be able to produce a podcast for somebody who's not able to pay me, right? Yeah. I want to create retreats for Black women entrepreneurs, right? Like, I want to be able to do those things, and I will only be able to do those things with the money that I make from this, right?
The money.
Okay. And then also, like, with having the freedom of being an entrepreneur, I get to set my schedule, right? Like, so you said impact, and that is what I really thought, like, having that impact, being able to create these things for people so that I can have that impact. I can only do that because I'm an entrepreneur now, right? Mm-hmm. And that's how I feel, right? And other people may feel differently. And again, it's no shade to like the 9-to-5. My mom worked a 9-to-5 and was an entrepreneur, right? Like, so yeah. I totally get it. It's no shade. It's just, this is how I want to do it. And yeah. I love what I've chosen. I really like this life. And again, it ain't easy, right? I have to do everything in my business. And yes, I contract out all the time, right? Mm-hmm. I like to say that I never work alone, right? Because even in podcasting, all the interviews I'm doing, that's working with people, right? Even though I have to do the editing, right? I have to do the uploading, the writing, all of that. But still, interviewing you is getting to work with you, right? Is getting to collaborate with you. I collaborate with other podcasters and things like that. So I'm always getting to work with people. And then I had a mindset shift early on in one of the interviews, actually, too, for this podcast. I can't remember which one it was. I'll figure it out and put it in the show notes. But it was about being of service, right? Like, because I am of service to my community, right? I'm never alone in this, even though sometimes it feels lonely because I have to do all the things, right? But remembering that, like, I'm doing this to build community, to be of service to that community. I'm never alone. So that helps.
Yeah. Love that. Yeah. You're making me think a lot of thoughts about I didn't look at podcasting as connecting in the way that you just described it. So that's a good takeaway for me.
Yes. And you're so welcome. And I hope that helps you if you are on the fence about maybe starting your podcast or anything, or anyone who's listening, right? If you're on the fence about starting your podcast, the connection piece is my favorite part of it. This podcast, the first podcast I started, it was mainly me. I would collaborate with other podcasters, right? I would interview sometimes, but it was mainly me. And the interview part I fell in love with. I'm just like, no, I just want to talk to people. I want to converse. And I have these light bulb moments, these aha moments that I would never have had if we didn't have these conversations, right? And it's another way to really build community to me. So I really appreciate that part of podcasting for sure. We got off on a little bit.
Okay. That's what podcasting can be like sometimes, right? You just follow the trail.
I love it. This is what I do.
Yeah, this is what she does.
Let's get back to entrepreneurship a little bit. I want to talk about advice, right? Like, what advice do you have? And it can be specifically for Black women entrepreneurs. It can be inclusive for entrepreneurs in general. But what would you say to, and I want it to be twofold from you, because I think you have, I just know you got something great. For the,
Put me to the test.
Yes. All right, let's go. For the entrepreneurs, or for the people starting out, right? Thinking of the business, thinking like, oh, do I really want to take the leap? Those people who may be like afraid, but like are almost ready. Let's put it like that, right? And then to the entrepreneurs who have been doing this for a while, who may be just getting a little burnt out. Like we still going, but damn, today was not the day, right? Like, you know, those entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that's a good twofold question. I like that. So for the people who are considering it, of course, I'm going to say go to therapy. And I know it's cliche. I understand that it is. However, and I could share this at the end. There are so many resources that help people pay for therapy, especially Black women, and share those at the end. However, a lot of people think that to go to therapy, you have to have a mental illness that's diagnosable. Certainly, if you plan to use your insurance, you're going to be diagnosed. That's the only way insurance will pay. Yeah. You know, if you see a private pay provider, then you don't have to have a diagnosis. However, therapy is a holistic type of service. And so I get people who say, I want to start something or become an entrepreneur, but I deal with procrastination, and that's not enough to go to therapy for. Yes, it is. Because that procrastination or that fear of starting your own business, if you're someone that's listening and thinking, I want to start a business, but I'm scared, therapy will help you identify what's behind the procrastination. You could be thinking, I just can't get it together. It's just a me issue. Maybe your parents couldn't get it together. Maybe your parents didn't have a lot of help, and so they were all over the place, and that's what you saw. Or caregivers. I like to use language that's inclusive. Maybe someone listening wasn't raised by their parents, you know. And maybe you saw that, and that's what you took on with you. And there were elements of that all throughout high school, college, and now in your career. Maybe you're getting to work late, or maybe there's fear because someone in your family was an entrepreneur, but they always said negative things about it. There can be some mindset stuff behind that. There can be underlying depression and anxiety keeping you from recognizing your full potential. So in therapy, we peel back the layers of that onion. And then, honey, you will start that business by, I was going to say by session 3, who knows, right? But people have these insightful moments where they realize, oh, it's really not me. Yes, I am procrastinating, and that there are behavioral changes I can make to improve that. And let me consider medication for the anxiety while I'm working on building coping skills. You know what? I think I have a business name. Let me take the first step. So therapy really removes that mental health barrier that's underlying for some people, keeping them from starting their business. I'll pause just in case you had anything to say about that, but I didn't forget your next question.
I want you to talk about, like, usually what we think is the problem is just a symptom of the problem, right? But I want you to talk about that, but I want you to talk about that. I want you to answer the question first and then talk about that.
Yes, I can do that.
Perfect.
You know, as a therapist, I'm good at memorizing and remembering different. You have to be good at it. So for the entrepreneur that's in it and is getting burned out and tired, I relate to that so much. One reason I'm starting a podcast, actually, that's what's behind it. And I wouldn't call it burnout because I've explored this with my own therapist, and I've explored it with myself. I've prayed, I've meditated on it. It's really that I have changed as a person. My needs have changed. My family's needs have changed. My kids have had needs academically that my husband and I have responded to. So for me to continue to create these one-off videos that I'm uploading on social media, it's not enough. And I've learned about myself that if I have something overarching that I can split and continue to share, then that might be the better marketing approach for me. That might be the better outreach approach for me when I'm trying to reach people and provide value in the world. And so I spent an entire 2 months this year thinking, what is wrong with me? Is entrepreneurship no longer for me? And that was not the case. Again, peeling back the layer of that onion, no, my lifestyle needs have changed. My children's needs have changed, and I will always put them above the work. So I have to shift something, right? Yeah. So sometimes if you're listening and you've been getting burned out with your work, go to therapy. Really get down to the bottom. That's just the answer, y'all. I'm sorry. Get down to the bottom of what it really is so that you can start to make that change and make those shifts, because it may not be that you need to give up on your business. It may be that you need to get rid of a habit or change your schedule or change the way you do something in your business. Yeah. So that's really my advice for that entrepreneur. And again, I'm just coming out of that and getting into action mode with doing the podcast so I can share in a different way. And I think it's going to help me.
I love that. I love that for you.
Yeah.
Hey y'all, Pink Lady here. I'm a podcast producer, director, coach, and host. And I want to tell you all about my production company, Pink Lady Productions. We collaborate with creatives like you who are driven to share your message by launching your podcast from A to Z and coaching you through the process. To learn more about our services, check out our website at pinkladyprod.com. That's PINKLADYPROD.com.
So yeah, oftentimes people will say, I'm having frequent headaches, or I'm having the physical manifestations of rashes. They end up at the ER. They're complaining of these symptoms, and the ER doctor says, I think you just have anxiety, right? How it was presenting, though, was headaches, difficulty concentrating. It was, maybe you had some racing thoughts, but you didn't realize how deep that anxiety went. And so the same can go with procrastination. If you have anxiety, if you have depression, well, you might be eating more or less. There's a 10% body weight change with the depression specifically. People gain 10% or lose 10% because they stop eating. So there are all these symptoms, and we call them specifiers. When we diagnose, there are all these things that collectively may equal a diagnosis, or it may be under the umbrella of some generational trauma, which is not an official diagnosis, right? However, I tend to talk about what I really treat in my practice are the symptoms of generational trauma. That could be anxiety, depression, procrastination, boundary issues. You can't diagnose boundary issues. However, if you are someone listening and you're thinking, I really have boundary issues in my business, that could be connected to your childhood trauma. Especially if you have the symptoms that qualify for PTSD, right? So there's so much to explore in therapy. And I always tell people your best bet is to have a consultation with a psychotherapist. Some offer free consultation. Some do a full session as the consultation, and you're going to pay for that or your insurance will, right? However, it's a good way to connect with someone, see if you like them, and get a good feel for what might be behind that hood. Yeah. And I'm probably not the best at that, because when I do consultations, people share things and I'm like, ooh, I'm already making connections, and I'm going to tell you a few of my connections. I'm not going to delay it just in case you decide not to move forward. So yeah, that's how I would respond to that question about what could be behind the surface.
So good. So good. Because I hear people talk all the time. I think what you said about physical manifestations of things, people don't realize how real that is, right? Like I've had conversations with people all the time, and people still think like if it's on your body, it's something of your body, right? It can't be any emotional things tied to it. It's not energy. Like energy is not real, right? Like, and it's just like there's so many examples of how real energy is, of how real like your mental health, your emotions, right? Like how real they are, and that's just another great example of it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, Marquita, you have an anxiety tip, finding mental stability in unstable times. Please talk about it.
One of my favorite subjects. It came up a lot in sessions today. Anxiety is high for a lot of people. for a lot of different reasons. And I stay very neutral online. I'm neutral anytime I speak when it comes to politics. There's a lot going on in the United States, right? And no matter where you fall on that political spectrum, you may have some anxiety right now. And so I wanted to share some of the ways I manage my anxiety because, and this is, I'll preface this with, it's a challenging thing to talk to people who are experiencing real things, or their family members are experiencing real things, and they're still trying to go to work full time or run their business while providing support and getting flooded by providing that support, right? It's a challenge because even myself, right? People are glued to me. I can go to the grocery store and people just start telling me their business, right? It's a therapist thing. It happens. It's real. And so one tip to manage your anxiety, it's going to sound like a tip that isn't something a psychotherapist would say. I'll preface this with that. Don't ask open-ended questions. If you think about it, the more you ask, and this is our therapist strategy, right? When we have someone across from us who's not opening up a lot, well, we're not going to ask any closed questions because, honey, I need you to talk so I can know what we're working on. And so we can start exploring that thing and help you access your healing. So we ask a lot of open-ended questions and we keep our closed questions to a minimum in therapy. If you are not in a psychotherapy session, practicing as a psychotherapist, and you just have people in your life who are struggling, you may consider what type of questions you ask them about that struggle when you're talking to them. Because the more open-ended questions you ask, the more they're going to open up. And are you having the mental capacity in that moment to handle what they have to share? There's a lot of real stuff going on, a lot of deep stuff, right? Are you thinking about someone who talks your ear off?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh, literally. You must have saw it all on my face because I just really quickly. I have a part-time job and I work in a 55 plus community. I do like event planning for them. And just this one person, I'm not going to say their name or anything, but and there's a few of them that are like that, but one in particular I thought of that when you were speaking, and I'm just like, okay, maybe it's me. I need to stop asking certain questions. Okay.
So you're a good person. You have really good light energy. You have welcoming energy. And so people are naturally going to be attracted to that. And that's something I understand about myself. So I may go to the grocery store at a certain time to avoid crowds so that I don't attract a lot of people because I'm not going to frown. I stay happy so my OCD can stay away, So yeah, that's one consideration. Another consideration, something that I've shared with my therapy clients recently. And by the way, I'm going to share 2 tips that are kind of wild out the box and 2 tips that are more psychotherapy related, specific. So the second one is considering that person's resources. And I don't just mean financial resources, but their mental and emotional resources and their availability to work through issues on their own. So I have a lot of people right now, women especially, who are taking the emotional burden on of worrying for their family members, maybe people who lost jobs, maybe people who are facing deportation, whatever the case, right? They're taking on the emotional impact of that. And they're asking all these open questions, right? So they're getting flooded twice by taking on too much. And when we really consider people's resourcefulness, right? Or our ability to share resources with people and say, oh, I hear you're struggling. I'm not going to ask too many questions at this moment because I don't have the capacity. I heard of this resource though, right? Or maybe that person is accessing their resources. Maybe they're accessing, the free legal services, or maybe they have a recruiter that they're in contact with. Yeah. So they're working their system. They're figuring it out. So you stressing over it is going to do you no good. It's just going to create more anxiety for you. So that's another out the box tip. Now, what I really love to do is deep breathing and cognitive behavioral therapy. Those are the 2 that are more evidence-based approaches from a psychotherapist. Deep breathing, I love the 4-7-8 breathing method. And that's where you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 7 seconds, and then you release it for 8 seconds. The goal is to do that 8 times. And let's add on another layer, another little exercise for you all. You want to do this consistently, whether or not you're having anxiety or you're not having anxiety. because that's training your body that this is what we do.
Yes.
So that when you do get anxious or there's an anxiety provoking situation you're in, you'll notice your body just automatically goes to it because you've been practicing it.
Yes.
And then that last thing is cognitive behavioral therapy. There's so much under that umbrella. Cognitive behavioral therapy is an evidence-based treatment. And basically it's looking at your cognitions, your thinking patterns. So if you're thinking a lot of negative thoughts, well, a simple strategy is to reframe those negative thoughts. You know, if let's say someone's listening and let's say they have a part-time job and they also have a business and they're worried. Well, thinking the negative thought of I'll never replace that income is not going to do you any good.
Right.
In fact, your back may start hurting. You may have hives by the end of the night. The more you lean into that thought, replacing it with something like, you know what, I'm very resourceful. I'm going to tap into my network and they've always shown up for me. I will find something soon. Well, now you've taken that negative thought and you've reframed it to something more positive. And then another cognitive behavioral therapy skill is to put that thought on trial. And this helps with anxiety and depression, by the way. Anything I'm sharing, it doesn't have to just be for anxiety. You want to act as if you are examining this thought, right? You are the judge. The judge is going to make that decision at the end of the day, but you're looking for evidence to support the thought and evidence to refute the thought. Mm-hmm. Half the time, these negative cognitions we have, they don't actually support whatever we're trying to make a decision about, right? It just keeps us flooded. And so that simple strategy can help you get out of your head and outside of the negative thoughts so you can actually examine it and explore it. And most people end up saying, you know what, I had zero evidence for that thought. I'm going to call a friend. I'm going to go to therapy. I'll put another plug to therapy. Or I'm going to go listen to a podcast.
Yes.
Jazz, Pink Lady Jazz, so something to uplift your mood. So yeah, putting your thoughts on trial, looking for that evidence, that's also helpful.
Yes. All great advice. All of those, even the out of the box ones. I really like because I'm thinking about, I ask open-ended questions all the time. And yeah, it's me. It's definitely me. Like sometimes I gotta just like, Jazz, shut up. Shut up. And I will be better off because that's the thing. I mean, I tell them all the time, like, I am not going to stress at work. Like, this is not going to be the thing that's going to stress me out. If I'm going to stress about something, it's going to be my business. It's going to be, my relationship, something. Because I'm not stressing about those things either. But, the point is, y'all are not going to stress me out.
Yeah.
So I do this, like, I smile all the time too. I listen to my music. I like ask Siri for jokes and things like that. Like, I am keeping my spirits up because and it's not even like, don't get me wrong, most of it is very innocent. Most of the time they just need somebody to talk to because unfortunately if you don't have a good support system at that age, it's just really, it sucks. Won't go too much into that, but yeah, it's just like, I don't, like you said, I'm a good person. I consider myself a good person, right? I'm all love and light, right? So like when y'all come try to talk to me, of course I'm going to talk to you. You don't have nobody else to talk to, right? Like they talk about how their kids are, busy doing these things. And I'm just like, Dad, you don't talk to your kids. Like they don't want to talk to you. That's, but
and you giving them a therapy session.
Right. And I'm not,
you.
And you know what? It's so funny because anytime I take those, whatever the tests that tell you like what you should do, who you are, those type of things, I always get like coach, therapist, those type of things. And also I like, this has always happened to me growing up. I'm always that person that random people come up to and tell their business to. Wow. Like, I remember taking public transportation. I'm in New Jersey. I grew up in Paterson, New Jersey, which is not far from the city. So I would take, when I say the city, I'm meaning New York City.
That's what I was envisioning, actually.
Okay, so you're on it, right? I'm just making sure. I don't know where everybody is located who's listening. But if you're in Jersey, say in the city, we talk about New York City. So I would take the train, I would take the buses always into the city. And I would just prepare myself because I know somebody, whether I have my headphones, I could have big headphones, like y'all can't see me, but I have on headphones that cover my ears, and people would not care. They would still like sometimes touch me, and I'm like, don't touch me, but try to have a conversation with me. And it's like, what the heck am I doing wrong that is telling y'all that it's okay to talk to me and touch me and just like want to spill your guts? And then it's the most random thing. It's like, why are you telling me that your son's baby mom was sleeping with the cousin? And it's like, I don't know none of these people. Maybe you just wanted to vent, and maybe it's my fault for listening. Yeah. But I've just always been that person. I don't know why. But I said all of that to say, like, open-ended questions, we gonna get rid of those. And also, like, considering, like, I realized that in hearing myself say all of this, right? Like, sometimes I'm assuming that they don't have anybody else to talk to because they want to come talk to me. Maybe they do have somebody else to talk to. So let me think about other resources that they might have and stop trying to be the end all be all, because
I like that.
You know, like,
I like that.
Thank you. I got that from you.
You got that from me? You just gave the community another strategy, though, and I don't even know if you realize it.
I didn't.
She's like, okay, because you're supposed to be a therapist. That's what this is. Or like you said. So, no, it seems you found your calling. Just you attract people. Yeah. So you said, if I'm going to stress about something, I'm not going to choose to stress about this. Oh, and that in and of itself is what I call a strategy, because then you can look at something that may be irritating you in the moment, and you can decide, oh yeah, I've already chosen. These are things I'm not going to stress about. So let me switch and not ask too many questions, not dive too deep. Let me answer a phone call real quick so I can distance myself from this person. And what that actually does, giving yourself a choice over what you're going to stress about. The stress isn't good, right? You're actually tricking your brain. You're psychologically tricking your brain, because then your brain says, well, I don't want to stress about anything, though. That's it. So yeah, you gave everybody another strategy. Wow. Look at that choice.
You know, I didn't think about it in that way as like a strategy. It's more, I thought of it as more so something that I say, but it is absolutely something that I do, because I'm not gonna, like, I'm not about to get upset about any of that. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out, because, you're welcome. And shout out to my, so I used to do life coaching. I had a life coach for like 3 years. We parted ways, not anything bad. It was just wasn't a good fit anymore, I think. And I want to talk to you about that, like outgrowing your therapist or your client. Like, is that a thing? What's a good way? I wonder if there are people out there who are like maybe thinking that they should go a different way, go have a different therapist or have a different life coach or something, but they don't know how to do that, or, you know, they're thinking maybe that's wrong, or I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I have thoughts on that. So I have people that I know personally who would tell me, and this is within the last 3 years, I have been with this therapist for 3 years and it's not working for me. However, I'm not going to terminate. Why, girl? Why not? Because people don't feel comfortable. And sometimes it's because some unethical stuff is present too. So anyone who's listening, if you describe your therapist as your friend, it's highly unethical. It's illegal here in Florida. I don't know about other states. So that makes it hard, though. If you think about trying to break up with your therapist, who's also your friend, you're swapping stories when it's supposed to only be about you in session, with maybe some minor sprinkles of who your therapist is as a person, then it becomes very challenging. I hear this a lot, that people don't know how to end it. And I have also heard that people have tried to end it, and then the therapist turned around and said some really ugly things to them. You know, like, well, you weren't doing the work, or it's like, whoa, chip on your shoulder much? So, so if you have outgrown your therapist, it may not mean, I think the first step is recognizing that it doesn't have to mean that your therapist is a bad therapist. Mm-hmm. They can have all the skills in the world, right? Someone can come to me with all the skills in the world, and this has happened before, and they have a diagnosis that I just don't have the experience with. And and I have to say ethically, well, I can't work with you because you deserve someone who has the expertise in this area.
Yeah.
And sometimes people say, well, I want to stay with you. Well, you can stay with me for these things. And this is a specialty, though. So you're going to need a specialty area. So a good therapist is also assessing whether or not they have enough skill set to treat certain diagnoses and certain conditions, So it is challenging. It's hard to break up with a therapist. It's really hard to break up. I say break up, terminate your therapy service. Like, break it up. It is very hard to terminate if you already have a hard time speaking up and that's something you struggle with.
Yeah.
And if your therapist hasn't really worked with you on that to improve that, flexing that muscle with your therapist is going to be really hard, right? But ultimately, it's okay if you need to part ways, and you always have autonomy in therapy. You can always terminate. That is your right to say, this is no longer working for me. It has nothing to do with you not being a good therapist. I've grown a lot. And I think that's how people can frame it, like the compliment sandwich. Have you heard of that? Anytime you're trying to give feedback, it doesn't have to be, I don't want to do therapy with you anymore, so cancel my appointment next week. It could literally be, you have supported me through some of the most challenging times of my life.
Yeah.
And as I move into this next stage of motherhood, I kind of wanted to try to meet with someone who has kids. And I've heard that too. I really want someone married with kids. You get to be picky when it comes to your therapy, right? And so I really want that perspective, or someone who focuses on maternal mental health, because I'm about to have a kid. And then you end it with a compliment, right? Again, I just wanted to thank you for all that you've done for me. It is time for me to explore different avenues when it comes to therapy. I would be like, oh my gosh, look at you recognizing that. I love that you're terminating therapy and it's so smooth, So I think people think it has to be this rude thing and it has to be ugly. And I've heard the stories. It can get ugly, but it doesn't have to be. And you deserve therapy, and you deserve to terminate therapy when it's no longer working.
Yes, absolutely. You said you get to be picky or choosy, one of those.
You get to be picky.
You get to be picky. Absolutely. And I just want to say that in life, like, you get to choose. Like, you don't have to feel like you're stuck in anything. This applies to, therapists, because this is the conversation that we're having, but this is life in general. Like, you don't have to feel stuck. You can make changes. This is your life. You can take charge of it. But yeah, especially in therapists and in life coaching, that was kind of like what I did. I took a look at my growth one day. I was looking at old journals, and I was like, dang, like, okay, like, a lot of the things that I went to her for, I started going, because I was starting a new relationship and stuff was coming up. And I'm like, oh no, like, I do not want to bring this stuff into my relationship.
Yes,
so
that was smart.
Started seeing this lady, and like I said, I was seeing her for like 3 years. And Zen, she's a life coach. I will put her information in the show notes because she did a great job. Like, again, I was looking at my old journals and realizing how I changed a lot of my stories, like the negative self-talk that I was doing. I was able to change a lot of that. A lot of my, like, reactions to things. Yeah. I'm able to respond instead of react. Girl. No, I had a lot of, I didn't realize, that's the thing, right? Like, I didn't realize I had a lot of trauma that I needed to overcome or get past, get through, whatever wording, you like best, or whatever resonates with you best, right? But yeah, I had a lot of stuff I needed to unpack and let go of. Yeah, I'll just put it like that. Because this ain't about me. But yeah, I didn't realize that. And a lot of times it'll be like a life change that'll do it for you, right? Because for me, it was, I'm getting into this relationship. I really like this guy. Like, he could maybe be my husband one day. Like, you know, all right, let me get my stuff together so that he could, you know, he'll want me to be his wife, right? Like, I want to make sure that we grow together and not apart, right? And it's funny because we were talking the other day, and he said something about like, are you ready to get married? And I'm like, well, are you ready to start healing and all of this, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, I want to go to therapy.
We're both, hold up.
Like,
okay. I like him already.
Right. Thank you.
I like him for you.
Thank you. I was really shocked, but like, not shocked, but a little shocked, but really just excited. Like, oh, absolutely. Because we was going to do that whether you knew it or not.
But you were going to go to therapy.
But I'm so glad that this feels like your idea, right? Like, I love that. So, yeah, that's my beautiful little journey.
I love that, because we tell people up front, especially if they're coming to therapy when they're struggling in their relationship, or they're struggling to manage something within themselves or uncover, heal something, you could grow closer and you could grow out of that relationship over the next 3 months. So I love that you worked on you, and it sounds like it brought y'all closer. Because for a moment there, I thought you were going to say y'all broke up. No, so you're still together.
Yes,
look at this healing journey. Paying dividends. I love it.
Right. Absolutely. Well worth it. And it's funny because we had some tough days where she had to give me some tough love and had to say some things that I did not like. I had to hear some stuff that I did not like. Well, maybe it's you, right? Like, those were never the exact words, but that's always what I heard. Well, maybe it's you. And it's like, it can't be me all the time. Like, it's not always me, but
have
usually it is.
That it could be?
Right? Like, it's always you. It's always you. Right? But I had to learn that, and it's the growth. Absolutely, the growth. I can see it.
Yeah. Can I say one more thing about
please
knowing whether or not you should leave your therapy? So sometimes it's not that you need to terminate with your therapist or with your life coach. Sometimes it's that you need to ask for what you need.
Ooh.
And, you know, and not every provider is going to kind of survey you or assess whether or not the style is working. And I'll be the example for this. At the beginning of last year, I told my therapist, because this was someone who was new to me. We had been working together for a few months. And I said, there's something about your style that, and I don't think I quite said it this way, but I was like, there's something about your style that I don't like. And that was very hard for me to do, right? However, because of previous therapy, I worked on using my voice and speaking up when something didn't feel right. So I had the courage to do it. I understand not everyone will have the courage right away. Maybe you have to do some work before you get there. But we talked it out. And she said, well, what would you like to see happen when we start therapy sessions? And I said, well, this is how I start my therapy session. So I always like to hear what the person has before I just dive in and assume I know the topics we're going to cover. And that was a simple shift for her. And I've been rocking with her since. So sometimes it's not that you need to terminate. It's that you just need to ask for what you need or explore. Are there any other styles we could use? Any other interventions? Because I'm really feeling like I'm ready. You remember that trauma intervention you mentioned? Like, could we try that? Sometimes we just have to use our voice. And I understand that that's hard for people. I'm just encouraging you to consider it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Love that.
Yes. And to go into resources for Black women, there is the Loveland Foundation. Have you heard of that organization?
No.
Yeah.
The Loveland
I think it's pronounced
Foundation?
Loveland.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Oh. thelovelandfoundation.org. And they provide up to 12 therapy vouchers for Black women ages 18 and up. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're thinking now.
Oh.
They give you 4 vouchers
as soon as we get on.
They typically have a waiting list, and they get people off the waiting list every quarter. It's been a wonderful organization that I've worked with, and it's helped me reduce the cost, out-of-pocket costs for Black women.
Nice.
Therapy. Another organization is Support for the Psyche. Support for the Psyche. What they do is they offer these both are short applications. I'll throw that out there, but they offer $300 towards therapy sessions. So how I've done that is I work with the organization after the client signs a release of information for me to communicate about their billing. And then we get a $300 credit on their account that they can use towards future services. So,
Nice.
I think it's very helpful to have these resources and to know about them. So, yeah.
Thank you. We love the resources, and
we love it.
We love the actionable resources. Like these are things that are really good, like 12 sessions, $300 off. That's tangible, right? Like that's something tangible that you can count. we love those type of resources.
We love it.
So I'm gonna be going right on these websites as soon as we get off.
Go ahead on there, put your little short application in.
Thank you. So your podcast, tell us all about it. Tell us what it's about, where we can listen. You said it's launching May 1st.
May 1st. Yes. So right now, people can go to my YouTube channel. It's the Anxiety and Free podcast. So I think on YouTube, it just says Anxiety and Free, though. And let me explain what that is. So I have a diagnosed anxiety disorder, generalized anxiety disorder. And, my symptoms don't show up in the way that they used to 10 years ago. However, it's inspired by this idea that you can have anxiety, you can struggle with your mental health in general, and you can still have a life of freedom. You can still have a life of healing, and you can still just wake up with joy every day. So that's the inspiration behind it. And my overall mission for the podcast is just to encourage and inspire people to go to therapy. Very simple. So it won't just be about anxiety, and hopefully I've demonstrated today that there's so much that can be behind anxiety and other mental health conditions, even things like procrastination. So we're going to tackle all of the topics that are under the umbrella of mental health, and we're going to have a good time. We're going to have some expert guests on. I'm going to do monologue style, and the one I'm most excited about is a segment I'm going to call, Can I Convince You to Go to Therapy? So if anyone's listening and you've either been to therapy and it didn't go well, or you have never been to therapy, I want to see if I can convince you to give it a try, honey. So,
I can't wait to listen. That's going to be fun.
Yes, I think it's going to be fun too. And I'm going to bring my authentic therapist self to it. I'm very gentle in therapy. So it's not going to be like, why haven't you tried therapy? But more so, let's talk about what happened. Did you give that therapist feedback, or what's kept you? Was it generational stuff that people kept passing down, the stigma of therapy? So it's meant to be an open and raw and vulnerable conversation with people. And at the end, I'll say, this was a great discussion. But the time has come. Have I convinced you to go to therapy?
I love that.
Oh, yeah, I'm really excited. Check me out on YouTube.